Hey guys, this is Chris. I still have my Zino Pro Plus taken apart from my last video, and that's because I decided I wanted to do things a little differently, and I wanted to really do my research and figure out what they've got going on um, by adding this thermal compound that they added here and inside the barometer. So, after doing my research, I mean, I have studied the Pro Plus and the Pro Board to death. There is absolutely nothing different between these. All the components that exist on the Pro Plus, they're exact. All the numbers, everything match up on the Pro. The only difference is this board is made by a different company. This one is made by a company called Nanya, Nan-Ya. So this is made by Nanya. Everything is exact. So I mean, I think they may have just done a difference in firmware between the two. But I really think if I put the Pro firmware on this, it might just work. But it's not something I'm willing to do. So just wanted to point that out. But I'm going to put this together, put it all back together, but I'm going to do what I think might be improving upon what they're trying to do. Now this, as I said, this repeater, this is where your antennas hook up, your lease system, your Wi-Fi, if you will, their version of Wi-Fi. Your lease transmission, this is a repeater. And what I think they've done is, I think since this is the exact same one that's in the Pro, I think all they've done is through the magic of a couple parameters within the firmware, they've increased the signal strength on this. They've probably really maxed it out, and this baby probably gets a lot hotter, which is why they've gone and added this. Now originally I said I was going to take that off, and I still think it would be fine to take it off and actually just put a thermal conductive gel pad here, which is basically, I've got some right here. It's this stuff right here. It's the same stuff, the same pink stuff they use, which you do not want to touch with your fingers like I am right now. I replaced these, but this board's bad anyhow. But it's the same thing. Mine is a tad thicker, so the forgot how they measure it. It's watts per meter Kelvin. Kelvin's about the same as Celsius, I believe. But this is, I think, let me grab here we go. This, you can actually Google this. 1.5 watts per meter Kelvin. So that's what I'm using. And I've used it in the past and replaced their version of it with what I have. Mine's a little bit thicker, like I said. So I think putting that on here would be just as sufficient as this. So I'm going to add some here. And wherever you see this, that means they have a sheet. They have a piece of this inside. So inside this cover, you'll find one of these, I bet you. I'm not going to pull that cover off. Let's see if it comes off easily. Sometimes they do. If it comes off easily, we'll take it off. Yeah, there you go. They have two of them. So they have two of them in there to help keep it cool. So we'll snap that back on. But if heat is still an issue and it needs to be transferred through that bracket, I'm going to go ahead and leave that bracket in place, but I think I'm just going to add a little more on the outside here. And then I'm going to put a piece on the top of this instead of using the compound. Now I did go out and buy some of this compound. This is the MX4 thermal compound. And as you remember in my other video, they had it all over the top of here, just like they do inside the barometer. So I'm going to put a little more back in the barometer just to show you the application, really. And then we're going to use this to put on my components that get hot. The one place they don't put it is here, but I notice this gets hot. So I'm going to put it here as well. It's not something they do, but this is a little addition I'm going to add. I'm going to put it here, here, and then on these three here is where they put it. They never have it on this one, and I don't notice this getting hot, so I think I'll just leave that one alone. But then I'm going to put it right here. So this bracket, when it touches, will be up against it. Or I may just set it up on here. So I'll add it in a couple places and then add some of that thermal compound. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, if you recall, remember how they used to cover the GPS units? Well, I think these units got so hot, plus they always covered up our vents. Our vents were always closed, so these babies would get real hot inside. But these GPS units do get hot, and that's where you can tell by this color here. That coloration is when they heat up. So when they're new, oh, I forgot to put screws back in this one. When they're new, they always look like this. And then after some time, they look like this. And I think that's, you can almost see fingerprints on there. I mean, it's like fingerprints all the way around. It's hard to tell on camera. But it looks like wherever the oil from somebody's finger has gone, and when it heated up, it's made a permanent etch of their fingerprints on the GPS unit. So they used to cover this up, but now they don't. This gets really hot, and so I'm wondering if I should put some of this on there as well. I don't know how much room I'm going to have when I put it back, because it does get very close to this board. So I'll probably add a little bit here. The other thing is, on all their quads, they always had the geomagnetic compass covered as well. So we're going to go ahead and cover it. We're going to cover it with this right here. So I'm going to do those things, and I'm going to also put some compound on all my connections here to protect them. And you can just hang out with me and watch me do it, I guess. But I'm not going to cut everything to precise exact sizing, so it is what it is. So I'm just kind of looking at what I need here size wise. And then it comes off the backing. Which I'm trying not to touch. There we go. So I'm not touching it. And we are going to add it right here. And just squeeze it in place. And then I can peel it. And from that point on, I don't want to touch it with my fingers. So take the clear plastic off, put it aside, and that's all I'm going to do for that. Now I'm going to cut a piece for this. I'll add it like this. So I added some right here. Spread it and then peel it. Okay. I don't know if that's going to make a big difference, but now it's on the inside and outside. It does take the heat. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the board just so I don't risk touching it, or put it back in the quad. Now, you'll see they've spent a lot of energy in putting in the foil tape, and that foil tape basically it's not for thermal purposes, it's for electronic interference purposes. That's That's what I know about it anyhow. I don't know if it has any thermal properties, but it does help against interference. So I totally think they've added that. It runs all the way down to the very bottom. I think they've added that because our gimbal motors have magnets, and that could cause interference in our signal since it's right there. So I think that's what they've gone and done. Now when you put this back, you got to make sure you get it in the tracks. There's some tracks made for it. And the wires make that a little hard because they get in your way. But let's see if I get lucky here. I think I missed one. Okay. So let's not touch that. Okay, so now everything's clear. Nothing's touching any of that so far. So I'm going to put that aside. Let's go ahead and put some compound on here real quick, just to, where'd I put it? Just to let that set and dry while we do everything else. So this is electronic grade silicone, pretty much same thing they use. And I'm just going to run it over top of all my wires that run to my ESCs and LEDs. Just as a little protectant against any corrosion or any elements and moisture get in there. Not something you have to do, it's just something I'm doing. Okay, so that's in there. And then I'm going to clean this up because it's bothering me. Okay. A little straighter. All right, so that's in there. Let's put the back of this board on. Put it back in place. Just snaps on. And then this section right here is going to touch. I know what I wanted to do. Actually, I have a thicker sheet. I wanted to put a thicker piece there, just to assure that it is touching. So let's cut a thicker piece. Take this one off. That's a waste. And then we'll put this one on. This one's a good bit thicker. So I want to see when I put my board back in if it works, because if you look at the, sorry, I'm sitting here doing this and you couldn't even see it. I put it in here, and then if you look at where the screws, where the mounts are for the board, it's about flush. So this sticks down a little bit. It might not be a good fit, but we're going to find out. Let's peel it. And remember, don't touch it. Keep your oils off of it from your fingers. And then when I put this board back in, it'll sit right here. And I don't know if it's going to so much transfer that heat, but it will dissipate. So I forgot to hook up these antennas. Let's pull it back out. Hook the antennas up. Oops, I'm sitting there touching the edge of that one. These wires are hard to get on. Gotta bend them. Okay, now my antennas are on, and got to make sure we get into that track. Okay, and you can also plug your fan in some while you have it up. It's a little easier to get that access to plug that fan back in versus when the board is all the way down. So once I get the board, I've got the plug in, I'm going to push the board down further. Then I'll get that plug in all the way. There we go. So my antennas, let's push them off to the side here. And once I do, I'll put a little compound on them. Make sure they stay in place. It's just basically a electronic silicone's all that is. Okay, so that's added, and we're done there. And then that's added. I can go ahead and put my board in now. Let's slide this out of my way a little bit. And I'm going to, I can put those covers on later, but I'm going to put my barometer on first because it's much easier to plug this barometer in while the board's out. So let's go ahead and put some thermal compound on that just to show you the process of this application here. Again, that's MX4 thermal compound, and we'll just squeeze a little bit out here. And you put it on, and my light just, I thought my light went out. You put it on. I'm a little heavy, but it comes with this little applicator here. Just spread it out even. It's like working with icing. Trying to be neat, but it's going to be covered, so. Okay, so basically now I've made that a little thicker, but mainly I just wanted to show you the process of it. So we'll put this cover back on, put the screws back in it. So go ahead and attach that plug. Much easier when it's not in the quad. And then I'll add a little compound to that as well. Instead of hot glue or anything like that, this compound's fine. And it comes off a lot easier. So I'm just going to add it right on the edge, just to kind of help keep this from popping loose, which I've never had a problem with them popping loose, but okay. So we've added our compound on that plug. We can put the board in place, and then we'll see how it fits up against that now. You want to get this wire pushed through that slot right here, and then put the board forward, and then as you bring it down, you want to make sure you're holding this other cable back. And then we're going to see how well we are in the front here. Does feel like it's setting a little high. Yeah, that pressed pretty hard. So I'm going to put the thinner one in there. I don't like this one. So now we're going to put it here. This one will be fine. So peel it. Comes right off. Now let's put the board in and see how it feels. Okay, and then hold these guys. That's better. Yeah, that's gonna work. So that's all in place. We can go ahead and just start kind of plugging things back in. These wires here I have kind of hidden up underneath here. So I did not want to do any harm to those. But that is my image cable and my gimbal. So here's the gimbal. And we'll get it plugged back in. These are always fun. Okay, I got lucky. And this one. Damn, got lucky on both of them. Those are usually a lot of fun to put back together. Okay. So that's there. All in place. Let's loosen this guy up right here so we can put the bracket on that. For so many, this video is just going to be something boring. But if you're like me, stuff like this is what I like to do. I like to tinker and mess with these, so that's what I'm doing. So now this board is ready to be secured. Let's go ahead and screw it back in place. And they line up perfectly. Okay. So now I can loosen these screws again on the barometer. And I always just keep them in place if they'll stay, which usually they do. And then we're going to plug this guy back in. Wow, I'm just getting lucky today. Normally I kind of fumble with these. I spoke too soon. Nope, got it. Okay, so these are all in. And you can use a hot glue. I've got the white compound out here. I'm going to just use it. Once it dries, it works well. Okay, I'm just going to smear a little there. Smear a little here. And smear some here. And smear some here. That's that. We'll put this cover on. Now this cover is open in the back over here. You've got some tracks that it rides in. You just have to make sure you look at those tracks, line them up on the sides, and it should just fall in. You'll feel it snap. And it feels like it's in all the way. I don't know what this is whatsoever. It might be where our audible comes from. I don't really know. But this cover just snaps on like that. That's one component. I have no idea what it is. So now these guys, they don't ever have any type of thermal conductive material over them, but I'm going to add 2 little squares. Okay, so now I'm going to put the barometer aside. Please be so careful with that. Be very careful with that. We're going to put some here, here, and here. They never put it on this. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that it's okay, I guess. So let's cut. So they're all in place. I can put this cover back on, and you see it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and nothing here, but I added it. So let's line this back portion up first. Watch our cable. Okay. Bring this over carefully. And tighten it down. So I think that maybe I've improved upon the cooling of this somewhat. I don't know that I went and made any major effect on it to where it's 100% better, but I feel like I did make some improvements in doing that. So now I'm just resticking all this insulating tape here. I think they use this to transfer heat. I don't know, but what I know about this is it's more for an interference type thing. Your electronic, whatever it emits, it's kind of a shielding for that, kind of like these are. So I don't know if that's how they're using it, if that's the purpose of how they're using it or what. And the only other thing I really want to contend with is I want to cover up my geomagnetic compass, and then I'm going to see if I can get away with adding some of this on here as well, and see if that helps with the GPS unit, keeping it cool, because it does definitely get hot. So the geomagnetic compass, got this area here I'm going to have to cut out, but let's first just see where I want to line it up there. Actually, it lines right up with these guys. And then I'm going to kind of press where that is and cut it. Our compass is covered. It's all shielded. And this here, I'll have to get my little glue stick and add a little more stick to this if it doesn't stay, which it's not. So I'll add some to that and make that stick better. But covered up the compass. Now we're going to put some of this on our GPS. And we'll put the screws back in there. So I don't know, maybe that will help, maybe it won't. I really probably won't know, but as long as it has the possibility of helping, I'm going to stick with it. Okay, so I paused it real quick. I've got my screws all back in here. I wanted to go ahead and get this, I wanted to get some more glue on this so it would stay. So that's all in place. Now, the only other thing I was thinking about is how they always covered the GPS module with something like that right there. So me not wanting to cover it in case it's a heat issue, just kind of wondering if this wouldn't be a bad idea. It lines up about, yeah, directly over that. So again, overkill, yeah, for sure. But am I hurting anything? I don't think so. So we're going to put this in there just as a shielding, and it's an electronic shielding. So electronics emit interference, and that's directly over top of something. That's my GPS unit. That's a very important component, just as is my geomagnetic compass. So GPS and that, if I can shield it, by all means. My barometer, this is a shielding that they use on it. And now we've also got that cooling agent, so I really don't see where I'm hurting anything by doing this. So we have everything back inside now. I can put it, yeah, I can put the cover on. So everything I've just done, I'm going to 100% agree with anybody that says it was overkill. I think it was too. But my question to you is it hurting anything? I don't think so. I don't think I'm hurting a single thing by anything I've done on this quad. So So if anything, I've just taken my Zino Pro Plus and didn't make a single change as far as benefits, or I helped it. There's two little pins, plastic pieces. There they are. Nope, I'm off. There's one. I think they're both in. Hold that secure. Try to get the screw. I think I'm using the small screw. Yeah, that's the right one. Tighten it down. Put the cover on. Put this end in first. Snap in place. Screw. You're getting a big play-by-play here, guys. Either that or I can add some funky YouTube disco music. Alright, so ESCs are all covered. All these screws are all in. And we've got to clean the goop off of there. But we're done. Everything is back together. And let's just make sure it turns on. And if you haven't seen the video, this is my modified battery. So you can use it on the balance charger. She's on and blowing plenty of air out the bottom. Gimbal's working, everything's fine. I didn't disturb anything in the process. So this will be a flyer, and weather is starting to get nicer, so we will start doing some flights with this and compare it to flights with the Zino Pro using the same battery, and see how we do on flight times and performance and all that. So thank you guys for watching. Thumbs up on your way out, subscribe, hit the bell, future content, you know the drill. So take care, peace and love.